Sometimes the key to winning the contract, closing the sale, or even hiring the right team member comes down to more than what the person says or their credentials. Small tells like body language can offer big clues that can lead to greater success or help you avoid disaster. Lots of people talk about how to read another person. Few are actually able to master this. I'm Jane Singer, and welcome back to A Seat at the Table, where we sit down with industry leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs to find out best practices that will lead us to greater success. One person who has mastered body language is the multi-talented Terry Earthwind Nichols. In his book, Profile for Profits, Terry walks us through exactly how to interpret body language as well as successfully apply this to our everyday business interactions. On this episode of A Seat at the Table, Terry will share with us how to identify nonverbal clues, what to look for and what it means, and tactics for entering a room, especially at events or large meetings. Now let's sit down with Terry and find out how to raise our game and win at interpersonal connections. So I understand that you've published a new book, and I've literally just read it. Thank you very much for providing me with the copy to take a preview. And just tremendous value in there, and not only value, but I absolutely love the way it's written. It's just such an easy read. You get so much value across, and yet it's really very, very easy to understand what you're saying. It's very relatable. Perhaps you could give us a background as to why you wrote the book.
Well, it was timely. I have been a lifelong people watcher. I served the U.S. Navy for 20 years as a young spout straight out of high school. And especially when I would be overseas, and we would get some port time in different ports, you'd have me running off the ship and heading for the nearest sidewalk cafe so I can get me a good cappuccino and just watch people, and I learned so much in the observations of how people react to conversations, even if I didn't know what they were saying. They'd be in a foreign language that I did not speak. And it was just amazing what they would do with their head or stuff like that. A mother nursing, or grandma taking the baby from mom for a moment. Where'd it go? Right there over the heart. And that head had come down and it would go left towards the heart. And I would pay attention to that. And when I would see people talking to each other, they'd have a tendency to come down just a little bit and to the left. And their demeanor was very relaxed. And that subtle observation, I got to thinking quite a few years later that there might be something to this. I'm just going to pay attention to people wherever I am and take a look at that, So that's kind of the background of the book. And I write a lot of books. I've got about a dozen of them now. And I write airplane books. That's what I like to call them. They're easy read in about an hour flight from Atlanta to Washington, D.C. in the U.S. or something, or Paris to Berlin. And at the end of it, you'll get on Amazon and order a whole bunch of them for your people,
Yeah.
And it's been very successful. It's sold in 7 countries now.
Wow, congrats.
And thank you. And I offer a Kindle. Everybody that I coach and mentor, I tell them download the ebook and Kindle on your phone so you have this reference guide with you all the time. Because the pearls in there are very, very timely. When when COVID happened and there was the lockdown, How do you know if whoever you're looking at, like if I'm looking at you right now, do you understand my message? What subtle movements, subconscious movements tell me that you're with me, right?
Right.
And um, maybe you're not to the left, you're to the right, and I need to be quiet for a moment and say, does that make sense? I say that a lot in the book too. Does that make sense? About 95% of the time, the person's going to say, yes, it makes sense. I'm not sure I fully believe it, but it does make sense. And the other 3 to 5%, uh, yeah, but not. I have a question,
Mm.
and it draws it out of them in such a way that the first thing that we're taught when we're little kids is the word no. You know, don't do this, don't do that. No, you can't have that. No, you can't have that. No, you can't have that. Well, it's in our society that when we're in front of somebody who's trying to sell us something, guaranteed the first time they ask a question or anything like that, or ask if you're interested, no, I don't want to buy, right? However, if you give them permission to say yes, now how do you do that? Giving permission to say yes is, does that make sense when you're talking to them 3, 4, 5 times? Because they have to say yes out loud. Their human ears get to hear them say the word yes.
Right.
Then, when it is time to make a decision on whether or not they want to buy your product or service, it's much easier because the auto deflect has been turned off. So, all of those little things mean a lot.
That's so interesting. I like the part in the book where you go into how you can profile people over Zoom. I mean, I think it's interesting. Your book is titled Profile for Profit. And I like the fact that you've tied that into understanding, because we do so many things over Zoom nowadays, whether it's a casual meeting amongst colleagues or whether it's a sales pitch. Um, so much takes place, not necessarily Zoom, right? There's also obviously other platforms, but the point is we're doing a lot more where we're not face to face, and it's sort of more difficult, or at least I find it's more difficult to pick up the vibes from that other person. So I like the fact that you teach people in the book in a way that's very easy to understand. What are some of the tells or the clues that you look for when you're talking to somebody over Zoom?
Are they engaging? We as humans got to see the face. So we don't spend a lot of time looking in the camera.
Right.
So we got to figure out which person that they're looking at on the Zoom, and are they relating to whoever is talking, whether it's, say, I'm talking to you and 5 other people.
Right.
Are you getting what I'm saying? Do I need to do, does that make sense? The head down and to the left is natural trust and understanding. Okay, when somebody has a question they don't get, they kind of just I don't know, and I think that comes from very early on in human development, thousands of years ago, when people used to hold a shield in their left hand and a knife and a blade in the other, and they would deflect. And over the centuries, deflect means I got a question. I don't really. I'm not sure about you,
Right. Yeah.
and that holds true from my observations. Um, an easy one is watch their eyes. Are they constantly doing this? Are they busy? If they're busy, they're not paying attention to you. I don't care if they're saying they're listening to you, they're not paying attention unless they are trying to find something, maybe a book,
Right.
find something to completely engage into the conversation. But that one's easy because you
Yes.
know through the conversation what's going on. But there's far too often because we're not standing in front of somebody or across the table from someone, gives us leave to do whatever we want and get some busy stuff done. Maybe I'll check my email while I'm in this meeting. You
Right.
know, that's all very disrespectful to the people who are running the meeting.
Yeah, it is.
And to stay away from doing that, you know.
I think it's interesting, and I
Uh,
think that, you've positioned it in the book from the point of view of a sales interaction, but it's certainly very useful for people who are leading a meeting to be able to
oh,
understand when they have to, especially because as we're discussing, there's not that in-person dynamic there. So you have to try a little bit harder, I think, to bring people back in. It's easier for people to drift, so to speak.
yeah, absolutely. And it's just as easy to be standing up on a stage with a couple of hundred of your closest friends in a presentation. You can watch them too because they can be busy, but maybe they're on their devices taking notes
Right.
or looking up stuff. When they look up, are they engaging you, or do they just look up, look around, keep going? I have to be here, or are they engaged? Like they have that inquisition type of thing on their face, where they are engaged, or they're spending a lot of time talking to the person beside them, who they haven't seen in 10 years, but don't have time for catch up. There's things like that. But to bring in the audience or the people that you're talking to, that simple question, does that make sense? What? What makes sense? Okay.
I love that.
And you get the room to say yes all at once. That's powerful, right? Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? I don't hear anybody. Does that make
Right.
sense? Right? And then people go, "Oh yeah, yeah, it makes sense. Good." Now your ear just gave you permission to say yes again, and it is in a very subtle way, and it's a very authentic way because you're not tricking them into anything. You're giving them permission to do what their subconscious is wanting to do, but they've got all that mom and dad training about don't do this, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do this, and no, I'm not buying today. It's not about that. It's about you as the person speaking. Is your message going to the persons that you want to do? For instance, I'm talking to you and I'm loving it. I'm also sending everything I say today to a person I have in my mind who is my ideal client.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. And I use the words that my ideal client uses. I use engaging business points if that person is of business interest, because I'm sending the message. I'm talking to you, and I'm sending the message to the people who want to hear, who are looking for me, even though it's on a Zoom recording on a LinkedIn page.
Right.
But the message is that ideal client that I have in my mind right now, in addition to you. Okay. So the way I present myself, the words I use, like I mentioned before, there's a place in the book there, how to read a room in 3 to 5 seconds, you
Yeah, I
know,
like that.
and
Yes.
and how to enter a room without being a jerk.
Yeah.
And some people enter into the room like, okay, but then there's the person that comes in. Yeah, I'm here, everybody. That's the jerk. But the
Right.
person who comes in, who's already looked in the mirror in the restroom and they sure has nothing in their teeth and things, they're walking in and they're looking at the room and they're comfortable that they're supposed to be here. They've already passed that milestone. And people who are attracted to the person who just walked in energetically or whatever, they're going to look.
Mm.
And some of them are just going to glance, but some of them are going to look and connect. And that'll decide for you where you want to go. Who do you want to talk to first? Or who's coming to talk to you? You know, it doesn't, in a big networking event, it's not always the best idea to walk around all the time. People can't find you if you're always moving. So find a place that's comfortable and, get yourself a cup of coffee, whatever. And the people that are attracted to you and your demeanor are going to come and talk to you. Okay. And there's the people that move around the room. Here's my card. Here's my card. Here's my
Right.
card. You know, I'm not interested in your card. So tell me who you are. Right. Because if I tell you I'm going to call you, I'm going to type your phone number in my phone right now and text you. I'll talk to you Wednesday morning or something like that, right? So that they feel valued and I feel valued. Okay, I have a connection here. I don't know where it's going to go or what it's going to do, but there's three people that we talk to regularly. Like if I'm talking to you, you're thinking about somebody that you're very close to and who trusts in um, your beliefs, and you think Ron ought to talk to Terry right away, right? So you tell Ron, get a hold of Terry, this guy Terry. You got to talk to him, right? Value, boy, that's a hot lead, okay? Because somebody I trust, wants me to go talk to this Terry. Well, there's another person, okay? Ron's assistant hears me speak. Boss, the guy you were trying to find a week ago, I found him.
Wow.
You got to talk to this guy. I watched him. I listened to him speak. And blah 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 blah, and he's doing exactly what you wanted somebody to help you with. And the third person, just as valuable as that person on the first tee at the golf course. Hey, Ron, I met somebody that I want you to talk to. All right. You're always complaining about this or that. This guy does that work. You got
Wow.
to talk to him. He's very cool. Those three people are as valid as it gets. Right. And the book goes into those kinds of things. And like you said, I've organized it so that it flows through different situations and interrelates. You kind of have a tendency to go back someplace and read again when later in the book, which is a stronger engagement.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like the fact that you've brought in a lot of examples of situations. It makes it very easy to understand. And I think the fact that it's very to the point, it's very actionable, it's concise, it's actionable. It's exactly the way I like to get information. You don't waffle on and on about this, that, or the other thing and go all over the map. It's just to the point. And you're right, to be able to know how to enter a room, massive win. I mean, alone, that's worth just getting the book for, because how many times have most of us, probably not you, but myself certainly, you have to enter a room at some kind of an event, and you're right, it's an awkward moment. And you do tend to get in that habit of circling. You're not really sure where to go first, and then you hope there's somebody there who you know and make eye contact with, but sometimes there's not. And so yeah, I think your advice for being able to pause, look around, and see who makes eye contact with you, and then approach that person and just see whether they're willing to engage with you. I think that's really great advice. It's not so invasive that somebody's going to feel like, oh my gosh, I don't think I could pull it off. And yet it makes sense. You've sort of, like you said, felt out to see who may be willing to talk to you, rather than also trying to take a far more, like you say, extroverted approach and bust into a group of people who are clearly very engaged in talking, and you're definitely not going to be welcome. We're going to take a quick break now, and then we'll be right back.
We were hiring when we were making 50 to 100K monthly losses.
And why? Welcome to episode 1.
I can't think of a single founder who's been around for a decent amount of time in business who hasn't had their tunnel of year. This was that year. We're going to be okay, yeah, Sheree. Some are going to hear this and think, you TDP. But hear me out. You only have to do the math to understand that very soon we were $500,000 down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The bathroom trick, you need to check yourself anyway when you come in. You've been traveling.
Right.
But the power truly is stand in front of that mirror. Everything looks good. The drawing I have of the lady with something in her teeth is
Right.
killer.
Yes.
I love that. And it happens all the time.
Yes, for sure.
Happens all the time. And most people are not going to point it out. Hey, you got something in your tooth there. You might want to get rid of that.
Right.
Not a lot of people are strong enough to do that.
For sure.
But the standing up there, I look good. I'm ready. I'm
Yes.
Superwoman, Superman. That's fine. But putting your hands on your hips and engaging directly in the mirror awakens something in you that most people are not aware of. It's called authenticity. I'm okay. I'm really here, right? Yeah, I have to be here because they made me, my boss made me come here or whatever. But you know what? I look really good in this outfit. Find something that you can go, this haircut's cool. I love this.
Right.
And then when you walk into that room, you're not walking in arrogant or anything like that, or sheepish, but you're you walking into the room. When you're at an event, like I travel internationally, so if I'm in an event in another country and there's somebody in the room I actually know,
right,
it's huge. It's such a treat.
Right.
I look at them, hey, right? Sometimes it's
right, yeah.
That's okay too, because we learn from situations or we learn from them. They're not good or bad. It's not dual. It's just being present. Presence is a point where manifestation becomes action.
I like that. That's really a great way that sums it up really, really well. I think that a lot of us, it takes practice for most people, myself included, but to get to the point where, yes, you can walk in and just be okay with however things roll and get over those first awkward moments.
Yeah. For me, it's getting there early.
Okay, that's interesting.
I get to walk around and get to talk to people, and like when I get hired to speak in an event, I will show up the day before, walk around, talk to the setup crew. I talk to everybody, and by the time I'm up on stage to deliver whatever my keynote or presentation is or whatever, I have vernacular that is known and common in the room.
Interesting.
And I can be talking about something and stress a point. Well, I had a talk. I was talking to this lady a couple of hours ago, and see her in the room and look her in the eye.
Wow.
Connect human to human, right? Don't say her name. Don't do any of that because you don't want to embarrass. But I thought this was a good idea that what this lady was talking about is blah, 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 blah. And you can just see her go, that's me he's talking about, And I don't leave until late day or evening the day after because a lot of deals are done for breakfast after an event, And so I don't rush out. That way I don't care if a plane is delayed 4 or 5 hours because I got 24 hours to get where I'm going. So I'm not overly concerned about that. And coming home, I don't book back-to-back events. It's too dangerous. And when you can do a lot of this stuff online, online keynotes. I just did one the other day, and the company loved me so much they're booking me for several more, and I don't mind. I get to sit at home, have my coffee, and talk what they want me to talk about. It's
Wow,
delightful.
fantastic. So what's next? You've just finished this book. Is there another one in the pipeline?
Or lots of them.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I don't know how many of them there is. I have a 13-part series on my life. I'm
Wow.
on book 3 right now, um, and it's in a holding pattern for some reason. I get to work through why all of a sudden I've stopped typing in that book. Uh, there's something that I'm either going to remember or get to remember, or something that's an issue that I get to become present with, and
Right.
just work through first, and then my fingers just go. There's days very early on in my life, I would make myself type something, and that was what it looked like when I was done too. Oh, it
Right.
was terrible writing. But if I would put it down for an hour or so, something would click inside of me, and I would sit down. Is this time to type? Yep, here we go. You know, and I'd type up 10, 15, 20 fitness reports or whatever, and they would be killer because I was in flow, and I wasn't forcing anything, you know. So that's a big part of my books. Profiling for Profit was written in a day,
Oh, really?
um,
Wow.
but it reflects a life, you know.
Yes.
Um, it's not uncommon that I get into a groove writing, and I'll stop for lunch, maybe take a nap, come back and finish the book. Because books under 100 pages don't take a whole lot of time to write, but sometimes they're very difficult to edit.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, that's very true. People think that it's easier to write a short book or a short article, but actually the editing is brutal when you have to get something and make it that tight. It's not easy. And I think, to your point about being able to get it done in a short period of time, I'm sure the long time for you was coming up with the concept and thinking it through in your mind. And then once you had that all of that in place, actually writing it was a faster journey, whereas people tend to think that it's the other way around.
Yeah, I don't set up chapters and things like that and then try to read a book or write a book. It's tell a story about whatever it is that I want to talk about, and then that's it. And then when I'm ready to talk about something else, I do it. I put all of the chapters and move them around in the book and all that stuff after I'm pretty comfortable with what I have. I don't
Right.
try to do it linearly because it
Mm.
never works for me. I am not a lineal person per se.
Yeah, interesting. I think you're right. It's better just to sort of get everything out onto paper and like you're saying, then rework it so that it has the right flow that you want.
Yeah, and sometimes you're writing something about something unrelated to something you've already typed, and all of a sudden, oh, I need to go back there because this wasn't quite right, but now I can go with this angle. And then you go back to where you were and you go, that was good. Oh, now I got a new idea,
Right.
right? Um, so it takes the writing pressure off. If somebody says, I've got to get an article out today or something like that, I might. Um, and if I have enough time, I probably will. Or if something I'm passionate about, I can pop them right out. But yeah, it just depends on timing.
Very impressive. I mean, you do so many things between your business, all the podcasts that you do, which is tremendous amount. As someone who does podcasting myself, I can appreciate how much work goes into that. And you have all these books. Terry, you are truly remarkable.
Thank you, Jane. That was very nice of you.
Well, I'm going to make sure that we have a link in the show notes, or if you're seeing this over on YouTube, in the description area, to Terry's book, Profile for Profit. And I would encourage people to grab this book. It's a really fast read, as Terry said, and yet it's packed with things that you can actually use. Like literally every chapter has specific things that you can use immediately in your day-to-day life, business, of course, but even in your personal life. Really valuable, Terry.
Thank you, Jane. That's very kind of you.
Well, thank you so much for being with us here today. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for being with us here today on A Seat at the Table. If you'd like to see some of the other episodes, head on over to our podcast website at seat.fm. That's SEAT.fm. There's also a link here in the show notes. And if you're thinking that you'd like to be a guest on the show, you'll find information on how to apply there as well. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Jane Singer, and I will see you in the next episode.